Hello everyone and welcome to our Beyond Me show. I am Monica, and today we have with us Elias Stasinos. Elias, welcome. The central theme of your book is the idea that the ego, the sense of a separate self, is actually an illusion. Can you explain to us how this illusion is created?
Of course, Monica. It is a very interesting process that starts very early in our lives. The ego, or what we might call a mask or facade, is created through a complex interaction between the individual and his environment. To begin with, our family, our teachers, and the wider society play a crucial role. They give us messages about who we are, what we deserve, what we need to do to be accepted and successful. These messages begin to shape our perception of ourselves. At the same time, we ourselves, based on hypnotism from social manipulation, and as part of the survival instinct, begin to construct and project a character that we believe will be validated and accepted by the various social groups to which we belong. It's like creating an avatar to navigate the social world.
Okay, but it seems like a very natural process. How does this character we created turn into an illusion?
As time goes by, we begin to fall in love with the character we have created, and we gradually begin to believe that this constructed character is our true self. It is like an actor playing a role in a play. To be convincing, he must become the character, believe that he is really him. In the same way, we forget that we are the actors and begin to believe that we are the character we are playing.
So you're saying we fall into the trap we made for others?
Exactly. We fall into the trap we originally built to communicate and survive in society. We begin to believe that we are the personality we have constructed, and this is what creates the ego illusion, the belief that we are this separate, fixed, unchanging self that we have created. But this character we think we are in our mind exists only as thoughts. That is, it is an illusion because it exists only as thoughts and a narrative in our minds.
Exciting. But why is it a problem? Isn't what we think we are our social identity simply the way we function as humans within society?
Of course, Monica. It's a profound and often misunderstood concept. When we say that the ego is an illusion, we do not mean that we do not exist or that our personality is completely imaginary. What we mean is that the sense of a fixed, separate self moving through time is a mental construct. We constructed it in our minds, and it exists only in our minds as a story of who we are socially.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Let's take Maria, a 40-year-old lawyer, for example. Maria has a strong sense of self. She is successful, ambitious, mother of two, wife. She has a story she tells herself about how she overcame a difficult childhood to get where she is. He has plans and fears for the future, so she has a narrative of who she is in her mind with thoughts and memories of her experiences, which overall she considers, again with other thoughts, that these thoughts constitute her identity and her essence as a human being. So far, Maria seems like she has a normal, healthy sense of identity, wondering where the illusion is. The illusion is that Mary believes this sense of self to be her fundamental reality. But let's look at it more closely. Maria's past exists only as memories and thoughts that she thinks now, in the present. That is, there is no past that Maria can go to and find something there. Nowhere does this past exist except within the thoughts of her mind. You will tell me he has photos from the past, but be careful. When he took the photos, he did not take them in the past because photos capture their objects only in the now, in the present. Photos don't exist in the past. They only exist in the now, if they exist at all. Her future is fantasies and predictions, which she also thinks about now, in the present. Even her current sense of self is a constant stream of thoughts and feelings in the now. The past and the future exist only in the present. When the supposed past passes, we are in the present, and when the future comes, we are back in the present. We cannot go into the past or the future.
So you're saying Maria isn't real?
No, exactly. Maria, as a natural person, is real. Her experiences are real. But the sense of a fixed, unchanging self in her mind as the I who experiences all this is a mental construct. It's like a story we tell ourselves. Just as the stories are in the books, so Maria's narrative is in her mind.
A little scary. If our ego is an illusion, then what are we really?
Excellent question, Monica. What we really are is consciousness, the awareness within which all these experiences, thoughts, feelings, sensations occur. We are the space within which Mary's story unfolds.
Can you give us an example of how this ego illusion creates problems in our lives?
Of course, let's say Maria loses an important court case. Because she is so identified with her self-image as a successful lawyer, this failure crushes her. She feels her entire identity is threatened. She may become depressed, question her worth, fear for her future.
Okay, but surely it's normal to get upset when we fail.
It is normal to feel disappointment or sadness, but intense psychological distress comes from identifying with a certain self-image. If Maria could see that the successful lawyer is just a role she plays, not who she really is, the failure would be much less traumatic.
Elias, many people may wonder, if the ego is an illusion, how do we function in the world? Don't we need a sense of self?
Very important question, Monica. Recognizing the illusion of the ego does not mean that we lose our ability to function in the world. Instead, we gain a more flexible, less rigid sense of self. Let's take the example of Mary again. If she realizes that her identity as a successful lawyer is just a role she plays, not who she really is, she won't stop being a lawyer. Instead, he will be able to perform this role more effectively, with less stress and fear of failure.
So you're saying we can have a functioning sense of self without being fully identified with it?
It's like playing a role in a play. A good actor puts himself fully into his role, but never forgets that he is an actor. In the same way, we can play the role of ourselves in everyday life, but remain aware of our deeper reality as consciousness.
A little scary. How does this realization change one's life?
Change can be profound. When we are no longer fully identified with a certain self-image, we experience greater freedom and flexibility. Problems and challenges still exist, but we do not experience them as threats to our existence. Instead, we see them as temporary events that occur in the field of our consciousness.
Can you give us a concrete example of how this could change someone's daily life?
Naturally. Let's go back to Maria. Let us say that he has begun to recognize the illusion of the ego. One day, a colleague unfairly criticizes her in front of others. In the past, this would have crushed her. She would see it as a threat to her self-image. She would get angry. She would get stressed. Maybe she would think about revenge. But now, her reaction is different. He notices the feeling of anger arising but does not fully identify with it. She recognizes that her co-worker's criticism is just an event happening in the present, not a threat to her self. He can respond calmly and clearly without getting carried away by emotional reactions.
Very nice in theory, but how feasible is it in practice?
It's a process, Monica. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like learning a new skill. At first, we may find ourselves identifying with the ego often, but with time and practice, we become more and more capable of recognizing this identification and freeing ourselves from it.
Okay, but what about people who may fear that if they lose their sense of ego, they will lose their motivation or ability to achieve their goals?
Oh yes, that fear is a very common fear, Monica, and it's understandable. But the truth is that when we free ourselves from the ego illusion, we often become more effective and creative, not less. When we are no longer trapped in the constant anxiety and fear that comes from trying to protect and reinforce an imagined self-image, tremendous energy is released. We can focus fully on the present, respond flexibly to challenges, and operate from a place of inner calm. In addition, our goals often become more authentic. Instead of chasing goals that we think will enhance our self-image, we begin to pursue what truly inspires us and gives us meaning.
Yes, but how can we maintain this awareness in a world full of egoists constantly reinforcing our sense of separateness?
Yes, it is true that our society tends to reinforce the ego illusion. Social media, advertising, and even many education systems all tend to reinforce the idea of a separate, fixed self that needs to be enhanced or protected. The key is to cultivate a constant awareness. It is not about withdrawing from the world, but about remaining anchored in our true nature while interacting with the world. We can think of it as playing a game. We know that the game is not the ultimate reality, but we can enjoy it and play it well. In the same way, we can fully participate in life, have relationships, pursue goals, but maintain a deeper awareness that it is all part of a larger game of consciousness. The goal, then, is not to eliminate the ego, but to see it for what it is, a useful tool, not the absolute truth of who we are.
How can we begin to see beyond this illusion?
One way is to start noticing our thoughts and feelings without fully identifying with them. For example, instead of thinking, "I am a failure," we can notice that simply, there is a thought of failure. This creates a space between our consciousness and the content of our experience.
It is a bit reminiscent of mindfulness practice. Is there a relationship?
Absolutely. Mindfulness is a great tool to begin to distance ourselves from identification with our thoughts and feelings. It is a first step towards recognizing our true nature as consciousness.
Created by Ilias Stassinos. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, comment, ask questions and like.